Hey everybody, it is Dungeon Master Mark and bringing you our gaming session for later today, which is Wednesday, and this will be our gaming session number, I believe, 16, so day 16 of our quarantine, and this will be the level of the Undermountain, I believe, number 6. So, in the last adventure, the party did decide to go ahead and use some of their water-breathing potions in the one magical item. They found a long chamber, and then they found where there was like a little air pocket. They come up through this air pocket. Of course, they immediately see this giant frog, which is staring at them, which is about medium size. It tries to latch onto the one halfling's head. Of course, they immediately are able to pull it off. It jumps in the water, and then they notice there's like a little crack in the wall. It looks like there's a lit chamber with some plants that seem to be moving around. So that's where we're going to be starting today's session at. Obviously, when they first make their way into this chamber, or should say crawl their way out of the water, they're going to set some of their stuff up dry, rest for the night. They do see there's some edible mushrooms and there's some moss and lichen and stuff that's edible. So they do have some food sources, which also explains why the frogs are up here. Of course, they were probably looking for some of those crabs also. They crawl through this little hole in the wall there, and there's a large shambling mound that is, there's like a magical light source above it that is glowing, and there's some of these weird heated pipes that seem to be running through a couple areas of the floor. They do notice this area of the dungeon is extremely warm. It's very humid, which probably helps the greenery grow. The walls in this chamber are kind of covered in ivy and moss and all kinds of like living organisms. Over in this area, it looks like at one time there was some type of statue or something mounted, but it looks like it's been removed or maybe looted. Of course, they're going to make their way down this chamber. And of course, there's a large steel door that's covered with like rust and moss. If they do pick the lock, of course, they'll be able to make their way into this chamber. And then there's two sets of large double doors. Another chamber going down this way where it looks like this blood red curtain. I'm assuming they're probably going to make their way through here first. They pull aside the curtain, and it looks like there's this large demonic idol like carved into the wall itself. They are able to ask it 2 questions, which it will answer to the best of its ability. Basically what I did is I created this kind of like a interactive magic mouth where it has limited number of answers. It's not very intelligent, but it does know a little bit of information. It isn't haunted or cursed or anything like that, even though you could definitely do that if you wanted to. This chamber, though, if they stand in the middle of this chamber or get too close to these statues, they're going to be able to roll a perception check. They do notice the statues seem to be kind of looking at them out of the corner of their eye. And of course, those are living gargoyles. Of course, they wait till the precise moment when they want to attack, which they may even let the party go past them once or twice before they attack, just to kind of let their guard down. Depending on which way they go, they're going to feel the heat coming from this area more strongly than the other area. They feel like a cold draft. Once they do open up these doors, they see this small little blue gremlin, this mite, who seems to be kind of milling about in the area. As soon as he sees him, he kind of runs over the corner, acts like he's hiding, tries to hide in the shadow. I should mention almost all the chambers in this area, there seem to be like a very light, I should say a very weak magical light source in almost all the rooms. So the corners do have a little bit of shadows and dark area, but they are rather well lit for a dungeon. Of course, once they encounter this little guy, they can talk to him. He doesn't understand the common tongue, but of course they do speak Fae. So one of the party I know speaks Fae. It's not very articulate, so he can't describe very large words, certain things. But of course he does describe his people, which are down there, which is a little tribe of mites. He does describe flying eyes and big statue, which is this little guy here. Behind this closed portcullis, they see immediately this large shield guardian. Basically a wizard was studying different levels of the Undermountain. He's long gone now, but he left a shield guardian, some books, like a little study area. There's some pickled fish, some literally just pickles, and then a fresh cask of water. course, there's another clock, just some reading materials, inks, and of course this chamber is extremely well lit. It does have some steps going down, which leads to a lower level, and some steps going up, which leads to one of the other levels up above. So it should be kind of interesting. The Shield Guardian will not attack unless any of the items in the room seem to be removed or seem to be damaged in any way. In that case, it goes into full defensive mode. If the party, though, just kind of comes in, just kind of peruses around, doesn't try to steal anything, they are able to sample some of the water. It will not attack. So it should be a little bit interesting to see what they do in that regards. This chamber, there's more of the large piping going through the floor. As soon as they step in this chamber, they feel a lot of heat coming from these pipes themselves. And they see this large, or I shouldn't say large, a small, kind of like a little floating head with no body, which some of you will recognize the baby gazer miniatures. If I can get to focus there. But basically they're able to fly through the portcullis that's closed over here, and they're basically attracted to the heat and the magical effects coming from this pool of lava. And so there's 4 of them all together, if I can get my camera back to focus there. But there's 4 of these little baby gazers that have made their way from a different level down here, and they just kind of float around. I basically make them very, very weak beholders. So what their gaze attack is basically going to do, like a touch of ray, like a touch of frost, like a very, very mild spell effect. They are able to fly up, so they're able to get out of the range a little bit. Over in this chamber, if they do talk a little bit to the mite, he will describe to them how there's a very, very big bird animal that keeps attacking his tribe. And his tribe itself, as I mentioned, is this tribe of mites. They do have some large, or I should say medium-sized, but large to them spiders that they ride. They've been using and training these spiders to cast webs over where the owlbear has been layering. And like a typical bear this time of year, it's kind of hibernating. It managed to eat several of the mites before it went into its hibernation, so it only occasionally wakes up if it's extremely hungry. But needless to say, the mites would definitely like to get it gone so they can go about their business. Now they are neutral, they are not evil in any way, so the party can reliably count on them not to like kill them in their sleep or anything like that. Whether or not the party trusts them is an entirely different thing. But yeah, gives everyone a, my camera does not want to focus today, gives everyone a decent idea for today's game. Alright, thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.